Mayor Pete made a comment back in the day, before he was mayor, he was running for mayor. He made some comments about black kids, black youth, and why black youth having such a hard time, why black youth is not doing so well. And he was speaking as if maybe he knew something. Recently, this video of him having this conversation, him having this debate, not a conversation private, but a public conversation with cameras and people dressed up with ties on in a forum where he knew he was being recorded. He made some statements, and recently it's come to light. Okay? So he's getting a lot of pushback about it because a lot of people thought they had different opinions. I want to share with you the clip of Pete that's caused the uproar. Here we go. Let's do that.
You know, the kids need to see evidence that education is going to work for them, right? So you see a lot of parts of
That's
town
part of the
where,
motivation.
Yeah, because you're motivated because you believe that at the end of your educational process there's a reward, there's a stable life, there's a job. And there are a lot of kids, especially the lower income minority neighborhoods, who literally just haven't seen it work. There isn't somebody they know personally
and I think that's
who testifies to the value of education. So yeah, you bet.
All right. That's crazy. All right, so now remember, this was Pete. You know, he was about 30 years old, I guess. It's like 7, 8 years ago. He was running for mayor of South Bend, and they were having a conversation about education. And Pete was saying that one thing he's noticed about black kids or minority kids or inner city kids or whatever is they haven't had any role models. They haven't sufficiently seen other black people get a good job, get an education, get a good job, and have a good life. That's what Pete says. And a lot of people call BS on that as soon as they heard it. All right? I know in my experience, that has not been my experience. I don't know who Pete's talked to, right? But he had that opinion, right? That was in his brain, that's the problem. Black kids just don't have enough role models demonstrating how great it is to have an education and to do well. Now, I tend to believe it's the other way around. Like, a lot of people don't get the opportunities, and if you don't get the opportunities, then how could you be an example if you're not given the opportunity to be successful? So it's not people not wanting to show their kids, look at me, is you have to achieve it to show it. Now, what are the systems in place that make that more difficult for black people as opposed to white people? I mean, I just shared a 45-minute video where I laid out all the obstacles in the way. First of all, the quality of our education and our public schools should not be dependent on taxpayer revenue when the tax base, particularly in the black community, is lower than that in the white community. So you're already at a disadvantage because you go to schools that are less funded because they depend on tax revenue. If we really wanted kids to all achieve equally and everybody be successful, we would give them all the same amount of money to be successful with, meaning the schools. And we don't do that, so why are we pretending that people have equal footing when they're not even given the same opportunity? We already know. These things are already common knowledge. And if you're running for office and you don't know all of the inequities of the school system of education, if you don't know the racial disparities in these situations, if you don't know about income inequality, if you don't know about how the racial dynamics break down systematic racism, if you don't understand all these things, why do you want to be a mayor? Why would you want to make decisions about other people's lives and not know anything about their lives except what you think in your head, but nothing that you've actually experienced, learned, or studied? You're about to be responsible for people and have a hand in their success or their lack of success. And you know nothing. Well, I'm not the only person who thought this was a horrible interview, a horrible way to depict black kids, black youth, a horrible way to describe the problem. There was a writer at the Root. His name is Michael Harriot. Michael Harriot wrote a scathing article about Mayor Pete. Pete Buttgieg is a lying mofo. It went viral. It's been trending on Twitter for the last couple of days, guys. That's how viral it went, okay? So, in a twist, there's a new article out today because Pete, he reached out and he contacted the author of that article to sort of clear the air. Here goes the clip of Pete's talking about his response to the author of that article and also criticism that he's received regarding his statements back in 2011 in this forum. Check this out.
2011 comments that have surfaced of you saying that kids from lower income neighborhoods don't have someone they know personally who testifies to the value of education. Would you like to respond to the substance of that article?
Well, I reached out to the author, and while obviously I think that some of the characterization of me personally is unfair, I do understand the concern. What I said in that comment before I became mayor does not reflect the totality of my understanding then and certainly now about the obstacles that students of color face in our system today. I believe I was speaking about the need for mentorship and the need for career pathways, but the problem is, to the extent that that feels like it's validating a narrative that sometimes blames the victim for the consequences of systemic racism. I understand why he was upset, and I understand the perspective and largely agree.
You said you spoke to Michael Harriet this morning. What did he say in response to your call?
Well, he expressed what he expressed in the article and went into a lot more depth about, I think, the concern of this perspective that makes it sound like it's all the fault of students of color or somehow their families that they struggle to get ahead, when the reality is there are so many barriers that our system puts up. And I want to make sure I communicated that I'm very conscious of the advantages and privileges that I have had, not through any great wealth, but certainly through education, through the advantages that come with being white and being male. And that's part of why I know I've got to make myself useful as a candidate and as president.
Okay. So, all right, there you go. There's Pete responding to it now. On the surface, I kind of like what happened here. Pete responded to the writer's criticism of him. I think that that was a good thing that Pete did that. He addressed it. But the writer wrote another article saying, guess what? Pete reached out. Pete talked to me. Pete opened up a dialogue. And I do want to say this, though. I feel like Pete was doing damage control on an article that went viral that showed him in an unfavorable light. I do not feel an urge or a sense of amazement or visceral satisfaction or accommodation or relief because Pete Buttigieg allowed himself to have a conversation about black education. I just don't feel that way. I don't feel that he should be getting tremendous amounts of accolades and, at least Pete talked to him. At least Pete. Like, if the article had not went viral, Pete would not be talking to Mr. Harriet. Mr. Harriet acting starstruck. Oh, I'm talking to Pete. I almost heard the next president. I mean, what are we doing? Why can't champion for the issues that we're championing without pussyfooting around and becoming awestruck or becoming congratulatory or limp-wristed about the situation? Like, why? Pete was talking about black children and poor children, typically the same thing, as if it was up to them or their parents how well successful they're going to be, when black kids, particularly black women, spend more on education than white women. And they have the debt to show. It's not a lack of pursuit. It's a lack of award. It's a lack of achievement after expending all of the energy that makes black people disheartened about opportunity in this country. It's not a lack of trying. It's a lack of reward. That's the issue that needs to be addressed. And Pete never addressed it in the conversation, at least not in the article that I read that Harriet wrote up, the follow-up. I didn't see any trepidation, any contrition on the behalf of Pete, any enlightenment. I didn't see him like, this is what we're going to do to combat that. Yes, I now understand. Yes, I get it. It was just more like damage control, like I said. So it's just, to me, it's just sad that, look, if you're going to hold them accountable, hold them accountable. I'm down for holding people accountable. But continue to hold them accountable until they've done something. What has Pete done? Other than pick up the phone and call you. What does that even mean? Who are you, and how does that change the reality? Hell, we can't even get Pete to fix the reality in people in South Bend. He wants to become president, and he views black children's lack of, I don't even know what he's talking about, lack of enrollment as a part of them not having parents who, I just don't get it. And it's okay to be ignorant and not understand and not have a working knowledge of other communities, but when you represent those communities, it becomes problematic. It's problematic that Pete wants to be president and he don't get it. It becomes problematic that we have journalism or journalists or reporters, I don't know what Harriet's position is, that are calling him out, and rightfully so. But then when questioned or then when pushed back on, fold like lawn chairs and proceed to become the cheering squad for the same guy you just called out. Nothing's changed. Now, if Pete would have took pen to paper, went out and wrote an op-ed about his involvement, his evolving on this issue, what he's learned, and that came up with fake pictures of Kenyans on it, right? Nat went and forged names and signatures to a list of people that said are vouching for him as being good for the blacks. Like, if he did that, maybe that would be more to be thankful for. But I'm not thankful for a presidential candidate having a negative viral article or article go viral on the eve of Thanksgiving and do damage control over it. I'm sorry. I don't know, maybe call me petty, call me a hard ass, but I just don't see what's there to clap about. Let's clap when the people of South Bend are clapping. Let's clap when Pete really gets it and he's speaking truth to power on that stump instead of double speaking. Let's clap when we start really making dents on what we see, what's really going on here. Not people who basically want to maintain, want to make sure they're not tarnished in the process. It's a difference. What are we fighting for? Why are we doing this? Why are you writing the articles? All right. Did you enjoy that content? I know you did. You got great taste, Johnson. What can I say? Become a member of the Tim Black Wolf Pack today right here on YouTube, or go to patreon.com, Tim's Take Live, and you'll get free stuff, special stuff, secret stuff. Do it today. Wolf Pack.